Alright, so we're back, and I'm going to do a few things. First, I'm going to replace this surfaced circle, with an Attractor version. That's a line-based version, and I would really highly recommend that you do this. And because it's a lighter way of testing if it's going to work and how big it is, and then you can set things up, and then when you want to put the solid or the surface version in, it's going to take a while to crank it out, but you know and have a better idea that it's going to work. And one thing, if you notice here, is a little weird, is that I don't think the sun is going all the way down to the ground. It's like a hovering shadow. The reason for this is because Revit by default casts a shadow on level 1. So if I go to my sun settings here down on my view control bar, you'll see that ground plane at level, doyle plane A0, right? But you can just get rid of ground plane at level and apply, and now it goes all the way down, right? So instead of being flat on a level, it actually casts down onto the object. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this, and it's a Mast family in the project, so I'm going to go to Edit in Place. And that opens up the Mast family. You get the big check in the X. And I'm going to place a point for my Attractor here. Just place it kind of right there. And then I'm going to delete this particular family. And over here I have a circle line Attractor family. So if I come in and I drag this guy in, it's going to come in about 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And I pick that point, and you'll see it's just a series of lines, right, with a rotated piece in it. So I can kind of test if the formulas are working. So if I pick that and I go ahead and repeat it, right, it'll repeat, and it even, it takes a little while to repeat because it has to calculate and run those formulas for all, however, 96 of those things, so you can see it going, but it doesn't take nearly as long as it would if it were actually surfaced. So you can make these things and test them and then actually sort of move this around and not have to wait your entire life, for it to regenerate. And you can adjust the formula if you need to and all that kind of stuff before you put the actual piece in, okay? So I would really recommend that you play with that, okay? And that's what I'm saying, is to make a line version of it and then move up into the surface version. Okay, we've got that guy in there. We've tested it. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pick this surface and divide it. And let's just divide it. Let's turn the nodes on over here under surface representation. So we've got those guys on. And I don't know. Let's divide it by, I'm going to go 6. Right, so it kind of lines up there. And I have a louver that is, so let's do, that's 5 that I did, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that way. Let's do 4 the other way, right? And then let's do, how about 10? 10 that way, so it lines up with those guys. So I have this louver curved, and if I pull it out, it's an adaptive component. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right, so now I have a louver there, and I can repeat that across that piece. Ooh, except it did the same thing that it did in class, which is actually kind of cool, is that this point, instead of picking the point on this surface, it actually picked the point on the other surface, and now it drug itself all the way down there and repeated itself as many times as it could. So it's kind of cool. I don't know. I kind of like, sometimes you get like these happy accidents, right? So that actually kind of works out kind of interestingly. So you could actually work some. Now the predictability of that, like I really couldn't have predicted that would work, but it is, fairly interesting, and you could leverage that, if you could actually make it work for you. Right now, I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to hide this particular divided surface here. So if I go through and grab that guy with a tab, I can come down and I can hide elements. So now I'm just going to be picking this guy right here. Let's go ahead and hide that element too, just so we don't have any. So if I come in and redo that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can then pick this and it will repeat right across there. And I have those louvers. I can reset my temporary hide isolate. Now, one thing, you know how we were moving the lines around in the other version? In this one, these forms, you actually have access to all the little bits of the form. So if I come over here and I'm going to have to tab in a bit, I can actually pick, see if I can get to it, I can pick that point and I can actually move that form up. And because those divided lines and all those surfaces and everything is attached to that, it will go in and regenerate every single one of those pieces, right? And make that one higher. So now we've got sort of a twisting, sloping piece, right? I could come in and I could pick this and I could move it in, right? And ooh, we'll see what that does, right? So those louvers get pushed in and it gets cranked a little bit. So you have a lot of options here. So I could come over here and it takes a little doing to get the points on the corners. So if I tap my tab key a couple of times, it gives me 1 point, right? And that doesn't give me any moves. But if I tap my tab key 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the one that I want. And so I can move that guy up, right? And it's going to regenerate that whole thing. And since it has to redo all of the, right, so now I've got sort of this twisting thing, okay? So let's go over, you can manipulate the form, you can manipulate the divisions, you can manipulate the attractor point, you can manipulate the adaptive components. So there's a lot going on here. So start simple, and once you get it done, you can do things like I'll do it when I come back. We'll do some alternative applications of the different attractor points.